Come out with us and play Love Your London. Have a banana. Hello. We're on the DLR. Yes, very exciting. We're going to Tower Gateway because there's a special thing happening there. It's a Gunpowder Plot immersive experience. Sorry about the squeaking baby. There's a Gunpowder Plot immersive experience. Anyway, so it's a Gunpowder Plot immersive experience. It's at the Tower of London vaults, and it's all about Guy Fawkes. I'm sure there isn't a single person in this country who isn't aware who Guy Fawkes is. Guy Fawkes, as he was also known, because he fought in Spain during the 8-year war. He plotted with a load of other conspirators on the 5th of November 1605 to overthrow the Houses of Parliament, to basically to blow up the Houses of Parliament, and get rid of the Protestant King James I of England, James VI of Scotland. Sorry, we're all moving around here because it is quite rickety, and basically reinstate or put in his place a Catholic monarch. So this day is celebrated when he was caught on the 5th of November. Now today is the 15th of June. This is a brand new experience. I probably was meant to start around the 5th of November, but because of the pandemic, loads of things have been pushed around. It'll probably, I mean, this is run by the same people who did the War of the Worlds immersive experience, which we've reviewed. There's a link up there if you want to catch that, watch that first. But this is done by the same people. If it's as good as that, then this could well still be running. They're booking until September at the moment. This could well still be running until November. Anyway, let's go and check it out. Doesn't feel like a day to talk about the Gunpowder Plot on the 5th of November 1605, does it? Here on this hot, balmy June day, but here we are. There's the Tower of London. Guy Fawkes was caught. There was a tip-off, and there were quite a few conspirators who were caught, but he's the most famous one because he was the one who was found guarding the explosives, and of course he was sent to be executed. He was meant to be hung, drawn and quartered, which would have been a very painful end, but he actually, if I remember correctly, he jumped off the scaffolding so that he'd die quickly beforehand, to avoid that. Now, ever since that night, or in fact on that night, to celebrate his capture, loads of bonfires were lit, and ever since then, on the 5th of November, or in recent times, the nearest weekend to the 5th of November, bonfires are lit, fireworks are let off. It's also known as fireworks night. In the old days, they used to have a little penny for the guy. They used to, the kids used to dress up a little figurine, and they'd call it a guy. And in fact, that is where we get the expression guy from. The word guy, because he'd be a very strange, odd-looking fellow. This sort of like this figurine that the kids would bring out onto the streets, because he was quite a strange-looking fellow who was an odd guy. The word guy entered the English lexicon as meaning a strange, odd fellow, and then eventually it just became fellow. As in a man, a guy. Now, of course, guys, when used in the plural, could refer to females as well. But there we go. So that is the name Guy Fawkes or Guido Fawkes or Guy Fawkes gave his name to the usage of the word guy, meaning bloke, man, in the English language. That's how important he is. Anyway, let's check it out. There we go. Look at that. How beautiful, Tower of London.
Okay, so when you go downstairs, there are barrel lids on the walls, and they will light up purple when it's time for you to go for your show.
Purple, okay, so we've got purple. Now, we won't be able to film inside there because obviously it's going to be a secret. Purple this way, can you just go in here for me? Purple, yeah. We're halfway through. It's really exciting. Lots of running around and running through corridors. The set is unbelievable. And the VR so far, it's only been the one example of VR, but I'm sure there's going to be plenty more to come. But it's been good as well. So looking forward to the second half. We have to turn off all electronics when we're inside. But this is the bar area. We're allowed to film in here. But we'll tell you all about it when we come out. Remember the 5th of November, the Gunpowder Treason and Plot. I know of no reason why the Gunpowder Treason should ever be forgotten. Yeah, that was fantastic. Really fun, another great thing by Layered Reality. They really know what they're doing. Yeah, it was different to the last one and quite similar at the same time. This is much more, in a way it's much more immersive because there's a lot more running around and running upstairs and being ushered into weird little tight rooms. Lots more activity, probably a lot less accessible. In fact, this one would be pretty impossible for someone with accessibility issues, whereas the first one was probably a lot easier. It's exciting. It's interactive as well because you also get to, I'm not going to spoil it for you, but you also get to choose whether you're going to be a plotter, in other words, on the side of Guy Fawkes, or with the crown. So you get to choose sort of like your narrative, which is fun. It makes it a little bit more exciting. I can't really choose which one's the best. I would say this is better as far as the set's concerned, as far as the actual building, because it's such an amazing building with vaults and different levels. But I think the VR experience is better on the War of the Worlds, and I also really love the War of the Worlds story, the Martians and everything. They're both 5-star productions, but if I were to choose one only, probably I'd lean towards War of the Worlds, but that's also because I like the story, and the VR just works a little bit better, slightly less glitchy. You can actually see or sort of like the other people that you're with in the War of the Worlds one, sort of like you turn around and you can see the other people, whereas here you sort of like I see maybe see one other person. I don't know if that was intentional, maybe it's a different system or whatever, but it's still brilliant. I mean, it's absolutely brilliant, and this is now really important because, like before, you can use a special code, LYL10. You'll see it on your screen. It's the same code that we had for the War of the Worlds immersive experience, LYL10. LYL10. So if you use that code, you get 10% off any standard tickets. So that's not like your Saturday night or your VIP performances, but it means that, like, instead of £40, you only pay £36. Or for the more expensive ones, you can go to one that's £50, for example. That means you only pay £45. But if you wanted to go for the whole VIP experience, that goes up to £110 each. We've had a little idea. If you've got any kids you'd like to lend us for a day or two this November, what we're thinking of doing is because I remember back when I first came to the country in 1989, I was brought up in Spain. I remember seeing kids with guys everywhere. I mean, I remember there were little kids with a little effigy of a guy on London Bridge. I think there was one outside Hampstead Station. I remember one near Bank Station. I think there's one on Brick Lane as well. I just remember seeing them like in 89, 1990, and then they stopped. You don't see it anymore. You never ever see kids begging for money on the street, penny for a guy, penny for the guy. So we're going to do something about that. We're going to see because I just wonder if people even will know what it's about. A lot of the young Generation Zs out there, the millennials, they've grown up without even knowing what penny for the guy is all about. So if you have kids around about, well, sort of like under 10, maybe 8, 9, 10, whatever, you're a subscriber and you'd like to lend them to us for a day or two, we will make make a guy together out of straw and old clothes and a hat and whatever, and then we're going to go and beg on the streets of London, or for pennies.
We do it all the time.
Yes, well, we're begging. Yes, we're always begging. But yes, so we're going to do it, and it'll be interesting just to check people's reactions. Will they know what's going on? Will they give them money, or will they cross the road thinking that they're street urchins or migrants or whatever? Will they call the police?
That's happened too.
I don't know. Actually, if you want us to do a CBD checks, then by all means, we're happy to do CBD checks. Or you can come along as well, but please stay out of shot because this is going to be about your kids and us. Will they give money? It's going to be interesting just to know, and it will be also be interesting to revive an old tradition because it's quite fun. So yeah, if you're interested, drop us a line, hello@loveyourlondon.com, or mention it down there in the comments. We'll get in touch with you, and it'll be educational for your kids. This is an educational channel. So we'll make a guy, we'll go round Brick Lane, and I think maybe London Bridge, because those are the two that I remember quite clearly, in the same place, just to see what people's reactions are. And see how much money we can raise. That money will, of course, go to the kids. We're not keeping a penny of it. Okay, thank you. See you next time. We're going to be doing, obviously, the Ballon stuff is carrying on. Do subscribe to our channel. Do hit that like button. Support us on Patreon as well. Share these videos. Put comments down in the YouTube, because this is how we get ourselves known, and it's thanks to that we get invited to great things like these. So yeah, love your London, and see you in Balham. Bye! Down to Wimbledon, from Brixton to beyond. Love your London. Have a banana.